God isn't like pushing buttons, lightning bolt here, zap that guy, but we tend to not think that. And as soon as we assign every event to an intelligent evil, then that thought leaks over into some of these other things we're talking about. Is God ultimately behind that button pushing? Well, there is no button pushing going on. You know what I mean?
Based on what we see in the Micaiah verse and Satan asking God, what is, in your opinion, just this interaction between them? Is there a dynamic here where whatever the evil force is always trying to afflict humanity and it has to get permission to do these things? Or are these specific cases only?
I don't think we can say evil has to get permission to be evil or to become evil. Again, this is part of what we would, in theology, we would call free will theodicy. If your listeners are interested in that, by the way, the best academic work on this is by Brian Peckham, Theodicy of Love. It's not just an introduction to free will theodicy because it's written for professional philosophers, but it's also written for normal people. He's doing both. He covers all the ground. Free will creates the possibility that evil can happen. Now, there's also a sense, though, where in human interaction with evil, there are some episodes where evil is trying to take over someone or do something to them or tempt them to do X, Y, or Z. You use the word permission. Permission is where the free will of one being trying to move another being toward an action meets up with the free will of that other being. And that other being has to consent. I mean, there is an element of consent and permission here. A free will being is not helpless to another free will being in terms of this battle for the mind and all that kind of stuff. That's why we're presented with, other passages where, and, frankly, if you talk to people who are into the occult or, whatever, I mean, permission comes up a lot. I mean, you have to solicit, you have to give yourself to that thing, you have to make the decision, whatever language they use. That's an element of this because you have two free will agents going at it, one direction or the other.
Interesting. I've always wondered too, and when you look at what happened with Saul and then Paul and his thorn and God, and I was reading in Isaiah, I think it's 45, where God says, I am the author of light and darkness, of good and calamity. There's this thing where, God is somehow, he doesn't cause it, but it seems there's an interaction there where he allows these bad things to happen.
I think some of the difficulty for a traditional, Christian with a verse like that, and let's just say like calamity that just happens, like natural disasters or something like that, is this sort of the way we look at the world. We make mistakes like all the world was originally Eden when it's not. I mean, Eden has its own geography. It's a tiny, tiny little piece of the original world. Outside of Eden, by definition, it's less than Eden. God deems it very good, but he doesn't use the text there does not use the Hebrew word for perfect, even though that's the way we're taught about the original creation. It was not created perfect. God was satisfied with the way it was made. Its forces are under restraint, but they're still dangerous. If you leave Eden and go outside of into the non-perfect, but still really good, really cool world, you could get hurt. Because nature does what it's created to do. All these things aren't by definition the result of a fall. I think the fall accentuates, accelerates, proliferates, whatever word you want to use there. It contributes to the chaotic conditions. Plus, there is no Eden anymore. Okay, I mean, there's that. So in a lot of ways, when people suffer in a world that is not perfect, let's just not even use the word fallen for the sake of this moment in this discussion. People can suffer in an imperfect world by definition because it's not perfect, and neither are they. And that just is what it is. God isn't like pushing buttons, lightning bolt here, zap that guy. It's just the way it is. That's the way nature works. And you need to realize it's doing what it was designed to do. It might be made worse by a fall and all that kind of stuff. But we tend to not think that. And as soon as we assign every event to an intelligent evil, then that thought leaks over into some of these other things we're talking about. Is God ultimately behind that button pushing? Well, there is no button pushing going on. You know what I mean? It's just the way the issue is framed. But on other instances, like with Micaiah, God does say, I have decided. I agree. Good idea. we're going to punish Ahab's evil. And good grief, we've all seen enough of it this way. Good idea. He's going to fall for that in a heartbeat because Ahab likes the sound of his own name. Okay. We just know this is going to work. And so God chooses, along in this case with this idea that emerges from his heavenly host, to punish evil in a particular way. God can be the cause in that sense, of calamity. It's not a moral evil because it's God doing it. God's character is, what it is. Evil is being judged by a good God who doesn't like evil, but he is willing to punish it.